Hi, it's Kristi.
And Heather.
And before we get too far down the rabbit hole of who we are and all the things we want to discuss, we wanted to take a moment to talk about why we're doing this podcast. Over the last few years, Heather and I have been discussing all things dogs, and that really started from the moment we met. But our conversations took a whole different level when Heather sent out a dog behavior podcast recommendation to one of our friends in a group chat that we were both part of. So that friend did not take the bait and did not start listening to the podcast, but I did on the sly. And then I started messaging Heather. As I started to listen to the same podcast, we started comparing notes, bouncing ideas off each other, and our conversations got more and more in depth, but often took place over chat. And we would have to say things like, okay, next time when I see you, can we discuss this in more detail?
Often a message of, I have feelings in capital letters would be sent to signify that a really in-depth talk was needed to process what we had recently listened to or whatever we were considering. So as we expanded the podcast we listened to, we expanded our conversations and realized how amazing it was to have a safe space to talk about some of the uncomfortable dog topics that we didn't feel we could easily bring up in just any forum or group. Although I think we both would say we are blessed to be surrounded by amazing and supportive people inside and outside of the dog world. While we do not expect everyone to agree with us, for us to even always agree with each other, what we do want to create is a judgment-free space to discuss things that may not always be easy, popular, or simple, in an honest and unfiltered way that allows people of differing backgrounds and opinions to hear and consider opinions that are quite possibly different than their own in a non-threatening way. So we hope you enjoy this journey along with us. Welcome to Sometimes There's Side-Eye, a podcast about two friends having real and unfiltered conversations about dogs and people. My name is Heather Brendle.
And I'm Kristi McNeeley.
And we are here to hopefully have some thought-provoking conversations. Kristi's laughing at me already. Go ahead, laugh.
I wanted to say, we're here to pump you up.
Maybe we are here to pump them up. I don't know. Okay, so we're here to pump you up and also hopefully have thought-provoking conversations.
Yes, also that.
So we are also here with Kristi's lovely pit bull Lucy. So if you hear a beautiful brown potato in the background, maybe panting a little bit, she is hanging out with us on this lovely New Year's Eve. How old is Lucy now?
She is 12.
12 years old.
She has noise phobias, so she is surviving tonight.
Yes. So basically Lucy's on drugs.
Yes.
Yay, drugs.
Yay.
Anyway, so if you hear a little background, that's what we got going on. So we thought we would start out with an intro talking about who we are, where the heck we came from.
Yeah.
How we became friends.
Yeah. Why are we doing this?
Why the heck are we doing this? I'm going to warn you straight off. Yes, there will be an E for explicit because definitely going to drop some bombs.
Yeah.
Here and there. I'll try to tame it.
I will too.
Yeah. So if you have your children listening,
maybe cover their ears.
Yeah. Yes. So I'm going to let Kristi start. Who are you, Kristi?
I am a Kristi McNeeley. I live in Arizona. My background is I came from a family that we did have a dog, an outside dog, until I was 14 years old, and then no dogs until I was in college. But I am an animal lover. Nobody else in my family is. And I came from the belief that it was rescue dogs or nothing. There is no other option. If you do that, you're a terrible person. If you don't do that, you're a terrible person.
So basically, I'm the devil.
Right. Yes. And so we'll get into that. But that's my background.
Well, do you want to go into your volunteer background?
Yeah.
And talk about Lucy.
Yeah. So right now I have 2 dogs living with me. I have Lucy, my 12-year-old pit bull. I've had her for 10 years. And she's fantastic. I will often call her a jerk because she is, and that's sort of like living with a drunk Italian woman. So lots of gestures, things are very loud and expressive, and that's who she is, and I love it. And I will say she looks at me like she would like to flip me off at least once a day, but she is a very good girl. And then she is an amazing foster sister. And so I have a foster dog, Julius, living with me right now as well. So hopefully that will be temporary, but who knows?
Yeah,
that'll be
you and your temporary, in air quotes.
Yes, it's been 5 months, so I think we should just plan on him being part of the podcast.
Yeah.
And then, so after I adopted Lucy 10 years ago, it was an interesting experience because I got her at Maricopa County Animal Care and Control, and I thought, I think things could be done better. like
Fair enough.
Arrogant person that doesn't understand the ins and outs. And so I thought I could dedicate some time to this. I could help, which about 6 years ago, it's been 6 years, I started volunteering with Maricopa County Animal Care and Control, and then a couple smaller organizations from there. And just that's where we met.
Yep.
So
it's true.
Yeah.
How long ago do you think?
Oh, we've been
like, how long were you volunteering when we met the very first time?
Probably 4 years already.
Yeah, I think it's more than that because Tiago is going to be 6, ma'am.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
7 years.
Oh, so we've been, wow.
Holy shit, hot damn. Okay, so we'll get into that. So I'm pretty sure it's been 7 years, so you've probably been a volunteer for longer than that.
Oh, yeah.
So basically your years just go by and we have no idea.
When you get old.
Yeah. So basically the conversation that just went on right there is pretty much how you can expect things to go. Kristi being like, huh? And me going, huh? And then us just sort of sorting it out between the two of us.
Absolutely.
Would you consider yourself a pit bull advocate?
I would. Yes and no. I think I'm a dog advocate first and foremost. And pit bulls fall in there. So yes, I advocate for them, but under the umbrella of dog.
Sweet. I would agree. So anything else you want to add?
I will say I love my pit bull. I don't love every pit bull.
Fair.
Just like I don't love any dog.
Yeah.
There's lots of really amazing dogs out there, and there's not so great dogs within each breed.
Yeah.
They're all individual. That's how I will define being an advocate. Yes, I love mine, and she's amazing. But
she is. Her panting in the background. I'm amazing.
Yeah, that's her agreement.
Yes. I am. How old am I? I'm 43. Okay. Kristi, how old are you?
I'm 42.
Okay. All right. So we're old ladies.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up very differently than Kristi. And that is an understatement, but it is one of the really cool things about our friendship that we've discovered. So I actually grew up in Pennsylvania, and my husband and I moved to Arizona in 2009. Dogs have been a part of my life, my entire life. My parents actually showed basset hounds before they had kids.
You don't have basset hounds?
No, definitely not. No. Mm-mm. But my first dog growing up was actually a beagle.
Okay.
Named Puddles. Yes.
Oh, that's cute.
I know. He lived up to it. And somewhere there are pictures of me making agility courses for Puddles in the living room. His poor geriatric ass, I think he was like 10. And I was like making taking brooms and chairs and good Lord. So we had Puddles, then we had a couple basset hounds, and my mom became a groomer so that she could be home with us kids. So I got exposed to like a ton of different breeds, which was super cool. And then we got a golden retriever, which she was a wonderful dog, but so not the breed for me. And then we'll probably get shit because we're busting on golden retrievers, but whatever. It's not. No, they're wonderful, but not the dog for me. Right. So Ashley was wonderful. And then I started to grow up and become my own person. And then my first dog as an adult living on my own was a greyhound, which you probably forgot, maybe.
I vaguely remember that. Yeah.
I had her, she was off the track, and I had her for 3 months, and it just was not a right fit, which I'm sure is conversations we'll have at some point.
Right.
But she was not the right fit, and the rescue was wonderful, and they took her back and found her the right home. And then I was like, holy shit, I can't be without a dog. So my husband and I, well, now husband, then I think we'd been together for like 3 months, and we're like, hey, let's get a dog. So we got a Rottweiler, which is brilliant. And that's another story. And hence down the road of Rottweilers for me. And my husband and I have been lucky enough to share our lives with a lot of dogs over the years. We've been together 20 years now. And we've had 4 pit bulls, 3 Rottweilers, and an English bulldog. Lord have mercy. Yeah, so my background is very varying, very varying. I love to go to dog shows. I believe in ethical, responsible breeding. I believe in rescue. I believe in being advocates for dogs like Kristi. But my views on a lot of things have changed a lot. And
Same.
yeah. And I feel like a lot of those views have like evolved, and a lot of that has been through Kristi's friendship.
Same. I would say my views have changed significantly over the years, and a lot of that is bouncing just ideas in an open and honest space. Like, okay, I don't understand this, Heather. Why would you believe these things or whatever?
Yeah.
And being able to have that conversation, and then being given the space to like sit and think about it too, and be like, okay, well, why do I have the beliefs I have?
Yeah.
And what purpose are those serving me?
Yeah.
You know, how are those serving me? And then how are we?
And how's it serving dogs?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Huh.
And like, what constraints do we as humans put on dogs?
Sure. Yeah.
And is it really the right thing to do? And I say right in air quotes because we're probably going to butcher that word. But still, like, it's very interesting.
And so be prepared as the podcast goes on. Like, our views are probably going to change on things.
Yes.
If we're growing. And
I would
learning,
hope so.
Our views are going to change on things.
For sure. And I feel like as we continue to learn as humans, part of the reason we wanted to do this was because we want to sort of put things out into the world and discuss all different sides because we have very differing views and backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a food for thought type of thing.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, both of us, our common goal is living well with dogs and making sure that we're advocating for them properly. Yeah. Do you think that's
Absolutely.
like fair? Yeah. And so, and people, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
advocating for
Because
people too, yeah.
advocating for owners, 100%. Do you want to talk about like the first time that you ever found out I was buying a dog?
Whoa. So we actually just came from the shelter. We used to do blanketing at the shelter, and we would go out to eat afterwards and catch up and things. So it's a whole group. And Heather starts talking about she found her puppy that she's buying. And I keep looking around the table and nobody else seems surprised by this. And I'm like, what is happening? I don't understand. And finally I was like, you're buying a puppy? What? We just came from a shelter full of dogs. Like, get one of those. Which opened up a conversation to why would you buy a puppy? Especially when you're familiar with the shelter system. Seeing dogs. You had rescues. When I met you, you had 5 rescues.
We had who was still alive when Tiago came home? We had Lucy, Remy, Layla, who were all rescue pit bulls. Daisy was gone. Daisy was still there. Okay, so we had 4 rescue pit bulls, and we had Cash. The rescue Rottweiler, when we made the decision. By the time Tiago came home, Lucy had passed.
Right.
Carry on. So they were all adopted.
Yeah. And so I was like, well, how could this be?
Yeah.
And so that kind of started the conversation. And then we were at a friend's house a couple weeks later, and you started talking about you were going to do a contract.
Yeah.
And my mind was blown. And I was like, a contract for a dog? And I'll be honest, I didn't even know ethical breeding existed before I met you. I just, and I don't know why, like it just had never made, I love watching dog shows on TV. Everybody watches the Westminster, like, so I don't know why my brain did not make that connection. So I'll clearly be the slow person on this podcast. So I can relate to all the slow people out there, like who do not make those connections quickly. But you started talking about having a contract and then health testing. I didn't know health testing was a thing. And finally, one of our friends, as we talked about it, I said, I just can't quite wrap my mind around it.
And this was like a super cool conversation. Yeah. Kristi's so great about like asking a question in such a sincere way that even if she's asking you something that's like against your views, or not even against, but like questioning what you're talking about, she's still open. When it's an open-ended question, it's not like a judgment. So I felt completely comfortable, even though I think this is only our second time hanging out, that I felt comfortable like answering, because I also at my heart I'm an educator, and I felt very confident in what I was doing. So carry on.
And so I finally do think we had a really great conversation, and you answered all my questions. And I said, I just don't know if I can wrap my mind around it. And this is a group of like 5 or 6 girls, and another friend just asked a simple question: why? But why, Kristi? If all the things, if she's doing all the things right, why can't you wrap your head around it? And I had to be honest and said, because it's a complete paradigm shift.
Yes.
And I have to grapple with it a little bit before I can just say, oh, my paradigm shifted and it's fine. Because paradigm shifts takes time.
Yeah.
So that was really like the start of asking some of those questions and getting into almost into the weeds, but not in a bad way, but really getting in there and digging in and figuring out, what existed outside of the world of rescue.
And I think, was it that night that I said to you, when he comes home, I just want you to come and meet him?
Yes.
Or was that later? Okay.
Yeah, I think that night you said, when he comes home, you'll have to meet him.
Yeah.
I want you to see what a well-bred dog is like. I love him. And by the time he came home, I was so excited to meet him, and I had clearly changed.
Well, I think you were on your way. Yeah. And so at that point, Kristi and I had really bonded over training, I feel like.
Yes.
And our interest in that. And so I knew that if she met him and saw, what I expected to have, that she would totally get it right away. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's like I didn't convince Kristi, Tiago convinced Kristi.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like I would have gotten there eventually, but he definitely accelerated that process. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. So that was, okay, so we said that Tiago is, God, do we have to talk about it? He's going to be 6 in February. It's bullshit.
Crazy.
I know. So Kristi mentioned that she has Lucy. I obviously have Tiago, who is my, how do I even explain enough? He's my everything. Yeah. He's my heart and soul. And he's the dog I quite literally planned for 15 years. And I'm not shitting you. We'll probably talk about it at some point. But yes, I planned Tiago for 15 years. And I had many, many dogs over those years who were incredible dogs, incredible dogs, but I never had my heart, and that is Tiago. And then we also share our life with Tater, who's an asshole, everybody.
He is not this dog. Like, I always liked him, but then when I dog sat him,
he's great.
He stole my heart. Yeah. I love him so much.
It is. So there's a whole little, kind of as part of my shtick, a love-hate relationship between me and Tater. Yes. We adopted Tater when he was 15 months old from a great rescue in Oklahoma. He and Tiago are 6 weeks apart, and he was adopted to be Tiago's ride or die. And they quite literally are, because at the time we had 2 seniors, pit bulls that were, needed to have a break from a young dog. And Tiago needed somebody to kind of roll with. So we got Tater. And then since then, our ladies have passed on. We lost our last pit bull lady, 3 years ago, next month. So then since then, we've had 2 dogs. Yeah. And it is our first time only having 2 dogs since 2005. That's a long time. And we're hopefully adding a 3rd because we're insane, but that's another conversation. So basically, that's us in a nutshell.
I feel really lucky too that Lucy was she helped raise Tiago.
Yes.
She was a puppy trainer. Yes. I was so nervous because I was like, well, what if something happens and there's a scar? Could he still be a show dog? I don't know. I don't know what these things are.
Because I had a short list of adult dogs that I wanted to introduce Tiago to. And Lucy was at the top of the list.
With her.
Yep.
Please don't screw this up.
Oh
Lucy.
my God. And that was still early in our friendship,
It was.
I think we'd been friends maybe 6 months at that point, maybe. Because Tiago came home in May, and I didn't decide I was getting him until he was 8 weeks old. So that was pretty early into our friendship. And it was perfection.
It was. Yeah,
It was.
they had a great time.
They did. And they're still best
And
buddies.
they're so, like, I feel very lucky that Lucy loves both of your dogs. Like,
That's true.
They just have so much fun palling around.
I know. It is awesome to have someone who you love to spend time with that your dog also enjoys, like, spending time with their dogs. It makes it a hell of a lot easier to be friends. So that's basically like us in a nutshell. So we really want this whole thing to be a thinking experience.
Yeah.
That sounds sort of weird.
Yeah, but no, it has to be this way or that way. But what our opinions are at this moment, given the information we have.
Yeah. And like our experiences. And sort of the journey that has brought us to where we are.
Yeah.
That's kind of our plan. So we hope that you will join us on this little adventure. We are going to be recording episodes whenever we get around to it and dropping them, hopefully becoming on a regular schedule for all of you. So we would ask that if you are listening to this and it sounds interesting, do the whole thing. Like it, share it. Like, what is the whole thing? Oh, give a review on whatever you're listening to. Podcast.
Let us know.
Yeah. And we want to hear your comments. If you have thoughts, we're interested.
Yes.
So that's about it.
Yeah.
Everybody enjoy. We'll talk to you again soon.